This is, without a doubt, the most beautiful film I have ever seen about Vikings hacking the ever-living shit out of each other. And also one of the coldest.
Feel now.
I will avenge you, father! I will save you, mother! I will kill you, Fiona!
I will avenge you, father. I will save you, mother. I will kill you, Fiona.
I haven't seen a lot of filmmaker Robert Eggers' work, but I've heard about it. People were suitably impressed with the moody, creeping dread of his horror film, The Witch. And there are those who still won't shut up about The Lighthouse. Going solely from what I've seen in this film, he seems to be the type of director who has a very clear visual aesthetic and style that he wants from his films. And I know you hear that a lot these days, but the main difference I see in Eggers' work is that this is not meant to show off his abilities as a filmmaker. Every choice seems designed to enhance the narrative and bring the thoughts and feelings behind the image to the audience. He's not saying, look at me, he's saying, look at my movie. This film is beautiful. It is magnificently shot and directed. Eggers works again with his DOP from The Witch and the Lighthouse, Jaron Blaschke, to craft something that is just gorgeous to look at. The two seem to have developed a working style that perfectly complements each other, as there is not a single shot in this film that doesn't look like a carefully crafted, deliberate choice. Even though the film is set in Norway, it was filmed in Northern Ireland. The filmmakers took full advantage of and enhanced the scenery around them, making it another character in the film. Everything feels remote and ancient, and cold. From the colour palettes to the bleakness of the landscapes to the sporadic snow falling, they truly captured the frigid, icy nature of the area. The story is as simple as they come. Prince Amleth, as a young boy, sees his father murdered and his mother kidnapped by his traitorous uncle Fjolnir. He escapes and grows up into a berserker Viking warrior, howling and snarling at the prospect of battle while fearing no enemy or foe. After a pretty gruesome attack on a small settlement, he has a vision from a witch, played by singer Bjork of all people, that his fate is still to return home to avenge his father and rescue his mother. Disguising himself as a slave, including a pretty hardcore self-branding scene, he makes his way back to his uncle's lands and proceeds to turn Fjolnir's life upside down in a quest for vengeance. So yeah, it's literally just Conan the Barbarian, but replacing barbarian with Viking, which just as a concept alone is fantastic. Alexander Skarsgård plays a grown-up Amleth, and he has obviously put the work in to play this role, as he is a hulking brute in this. He looks like if he spilled your beer at the pub, you'd buy him another round. I have to admit to initially dismissing him as another muscle-bound lunk, but as the film progresses, he very deftly portrays a character that slowly realizes that he has a choice in his future and destiny, but is somewhat haunted by that choice. His character might be big, mean, and angry, but it's the most human and heartfelt depiction of big, mean, and angry I've ever seen. Eggers' regular Anna Taylor-Joy is perfectly cast as Olga of the Birch Forest, a slave girl owned by Fjolnir who works on his farm. She looks perfectly at home on the Viking landscape with that ethereal but terrifying beauty of hers. The girl is breathtaking to look at, but you'd never want her to jump out of a dark alley at you either. There's a bunch of very big names playing very small roles in this film, but all of them make the most of their limited amount of screen time. Ethan Hawke plays Amleth's father, a seemingly good king and father. His character's death is the main motivation for the rest of the movie, but his character is developed beautifully in his short amount of screen time, so you fully understand his son's loss. Willem Dafoe has an equally short but memorable amount of time as Hymer the Fool, the king's jester and confidant. He channels some of that wonderful Green Goblin energy to come across as both unsettling but strangely wise. The rest of the cast all put in fantastic efforts. The one slightly negative standout is Nicole Kidman. I can't put my finger on why, other than maybe she's just a little too recognisable as Nicole Kidman nowadays. But of everyone in the cast, she just sort of stuck out. Her third act turn was almost telegraphed from the moment she appears on screen. I will say though, with her pale skin and red hair, if it turns out she actually was kidnapped from a Viking family when she was a child, I wouldn't be surprised. But the performances all go towards enhancing what is the absolute star of this film, which is the cinematography. This film is magnificent to look at. Everything is stylized, but nothing is showy. There's nothing flashy about the camera work, and the shot choices are never intended to bring attention to themselves. But there's an incredible amount of creativity embedded into every shot and sequence. For instance, there's a few sequences that take place in the dark, for which they utilize this magnificent black and white approach, reminiscent of what they developed for the Sin City film back in the day. All the colour and grey was washed out, leaving this eerie two-toned effect, only dispersed by brief flashes of orange whenever they got close to a flame. Once again, it never felt like it was showing off. This is pure storytelling. That mentality also goes for the story itself. The film is set around the time before Christianity started influencing Viking culture. There is no attempt to try and overlay modern day values onto a historical narrative. I cringed at a few moments, but absolutely recognised it for what it was. They don't shy away from the violence either. It's never gratuitous or gory for goriness' sake, but it doesn't hold your hand or try to make things more palatable for audiences. One scene in particular had me cringing right up into the fetal position, but it worked for what they needed to accomplish. This film moved along at its own pace, revealing story beats when it wanted you to know them, rather than throwing everything at you all at once and hoping you could catch up. It's 2.25 hours long, and even though there were some slower moments, you never wanted the film to hurry up and get to the point. The best way I can describe this is historically mythological. It feels like the way someone from that era would interpret the story, through the lens of their own belief systems. Even the more fantastical elements, Norse gods, rainbow bridges and Valkyries, all felt like they belonged and were part of the world. In a nutshell, Chris Hemsworth would look sorely out of place anywhere in this film. I know I've harped on and on about this, but this is without a doubt one of the most beautiful films I've seen in a while. And even though the story tropes were things I've seen many times before, I was really happy to sit and watch them be told to me this way.